At €600, the Keces Ebravo sounds like a very affordable way to stream music from your DLNA server, Tidal, Qobus or for instance Audirvana to your DAC. But is it? A digital transport is a network player that only outputs digital signals to a DAC, active speakers or an amplifier with digital inputs. The standard version comes with a wallward switching mode power supply. When bundled with the P6 linear power supply, the price is €999. It is this combo that is on review here. Let's see where it is to be used. As said, the Ebravo is to be connected to an input on a digital to analog converter, DAC for short. That can be over AES EBU cable with XLR connectors, a SPDIF coaxial cable with RCA connectors or a Toslink optical cable. Note that these are specific cables for digital audio. Using cables used for analog audio like normal RCA interlinks or microphone cables can degrade the sound quality. In this example I use AES EBU cable. The analog outputs of the DAC are then connected to the amplifier using either XLR or RCA interlinks. The amplifier is connected to a pair of loudspeakers over loudspeaker cables. The Ebravo also has to be connected to your network over a network cable or Wi-Fi. This way it has access to streaming services and internet radio, and to a computer or NAS where a DLNA server program can be run to play music stored on that computer or NAS. That DLNA server program is controlled by a DLNA control app on a tablet or smartphone. There you can also run apps like Tidal Connect, Qobus Connect, Audirvana, Amara, JRiver Media Center and the like, and use the DLNA protocol to send the music to the Ebravo. Of course you can use an amplifier or AV receiver with digital inputs instead of a DAC and amplifier combination. The Ebravo is only available in black. It measures 220 by 220 by 76 mm and weighs 1 kilo. On the front we see an LED that indicates a standby status with next to it the button to switch in and out of standby. The infrared sensor is no longer used since using a smartphone or tablet offers so much more. The input selector lets you choose between the network or Bluetooth. Bluetooth is bidirectional. The dim switch switches off the display next to it. Here we see the 12 volts DC input that can either come from a wallward power supply or, as in this case here, from the P6 power supply. The antenna next to it takes care of both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. A USB storage medium holding music can be connected here and the network cable goes above it. Then the digital outputs. Optical on Toslink connector, coax aka SPDIF on RCA and AES EBU on XLR connector. When opened we see 3 circuit boards. One mounted vertically against the front holding the display, one horizontally mounted against the front and one horizontally mounted against the back. The empty space is not to fool you, but to be able to stack it with, for instance, the P6 power supply or the E40 integrated amplifier. The board just behind the front holds the microchip processor with close to it the crystal oscillator. This infrared sensor, as said, is no longer used. 2 frames hold the buttons. A multi-pin connector connects this board with the interfacing board against the back. Let's go there. This board holds the DC input with behind it a rectifier and other components to further clean up the incoming 12 volts DC power. The Ethernet connector is directly followed up by a pulse transformer packet to galvanically separate the incoming network signal. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is handled by this piggyback mounted module. A high frequency connector and cable transports the radio signal to the antenna socket. This part of the board takes care of the digital outputs using the Wolfson WF8805 transceiver chip. The AES-3 signals are then sent to two high-frequency transformers, again to have the AES EBU and SPDIF outputs galvanically separated. The Toslink output is by nature galvanically separated. Let's go to the power supply. Although constructed slightly different, width and depth are equal to those of the Ebravo, while the height differs 2 mm. Still, the P6 looks like made for the Ebravo. It weighs 4 kilos. On the front there is only a power LED. On the rear we see the power switch integrated with fuse holder and IC mains inlet. The P6 has two DC power outputs. Number 2 is switchable to 12, 15, 19 or 24 volts DC with this switch. Output 1 can be switched to 5, 7, 9 or 12 volts DC using this switch. Both outputs are each capable of delivering 3 amperes. Since the Ebravo needs 12 volts, it can be connected to either output, leaving a second output between 5 and 24 volts free for another device. Two short DC power cables come with the unit, one with a 5.5/2.1 connector and one with a 5.5/2.5 connector. At the rear we find a small circuit board that interfaces with the power inlet, fuse and switch module. In front of that a small board that holds a voltage selector that can be set from the bottom. Choices are 110 to 120 volts or 220 to 240 volts. The toroidal transformer brings that down to lower voltages that are plugged into the main board. Here we find two separate power circuits, with each 10,000 microfarad capacitors. Against the right side we find two sets of voltage regulators mounted against a thick plate of aluminium, functioning as a cooling profile. Close to the DC outputs we find 2x4 trim potentiometers to precisely set each output voltage. The P6 power supply was connected over a €40 DC power cable that Kemp Electronics, the Dutch distributor, had included. It sounded more open than the standard cable. For the rest, connections were made as I have shown in the beginning of this video. I downloaded the 4Stream app to my iPhone 11, followed the instructions and the Ebravo was immediately found and connected. To my surprise, so was my WIM Mini. It appears that the WIM app is identical to the 4Stream app apart from the name, on the iPhone that is. WIM has a dedicated iPad version that lets you use it in landscape mode, while the 4Stream app is the iPhone app enlarged and can only be used in portrait mode. Given the very low price of WIM products, they form a good solution for use elsewhere in the house where the sound quality is less critical. If you want to know more about the app, see my WIM reviews. Links at the usual places. The Ebravo only does PCM up to 192 kHz 24 bits. But to be honest, that will be 99.999% of normal music offered to you. Roon is not supported. I used my reference setup 1B, where the Ebravo and P6 combination was connected to the Zixel GS1900-10H speed switch over the Network Acoustics Eno system cable and filter. From there a Cat6 patch cable runs to the Ziggo modem/router to have an internet connection. A second Cat6 cable connects to the Sonic Transporter i7 running Minim server. Then the audio side. The AES EBU output was connected to the AES EBU input of the Holo Audio Cyan 2 DAC using the Network Acoustics Eno AES EBU cable. The Cyan 2 in turn was connected to the Air Acoustics AX520 over Grim Audio SQM cable. The loudspeakers were the PMC FAC12 signatures on stack Audio OVA 70 isolators and connected over AudioQuest Robin Hood 0 loudspeaker cable. Minim server was controlled using my iPad Pro 2. It also ran the Wim app and Audirvana remote app. Audirvana also uses the music on the Sonic transporter and was run on my Mac Pro. AirPlay is supported too, so you can stream music from your iPhone, iPad or Mac directly. Although there are those that think that digital signals have no influence on the sound quality, just compare the digital output of the Wim Pro Plus to that of the Ebravo using a stereo like my Setup 2, and you know better. Let me once again make clear that the Wim streamers are great products for the money, but once you have a stereo equal or better than my Setup 2, a product like the Ebravo brings clearly more sound quality. It sounds more open, has better controlled sibilants, clearly better texture in the lows, while also going deeper. These are all things that make a digital device sound less digital. The sound quality using AES EBU is of the level of the Magna Mano Ultra MK3 Farad streamer running Rupee XL. This is a well-priced digital transport using tried and trusted streaming software. I still prefer the Magna digital transport in those cases where I2S provides a better sound quality. This is the case when the DAC has less than optimal clocking and input circuits. And it does DSD, but if you don't need that, you buy a very good digital transport for only €999 and save €480. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. There will be a new video next week. So subscribe to this channel or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn or Instagram to stay informed on when new videos are out. Help me reach even more people by giving this video thumbs up or link to this video on the social media. It is much appreciated. Many thanks to those viewers that support this channel financially. It keeps me independent and lets me improve the channel further. If that makes you feel like supporting my work too, the links are in the comments below this video on YouTube. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching and see you next week. And whatever you do, enjoy the music.